been fascinated by weather my entire life, severe weather, and things really kind of got started. My 17-year-old son has been fascinated with weather. He's actually going to go to school for meteorology, University of Wyoming, and so last year we decided to set up a trip and go do a father-son thing, and we found Jason Weingart, who you'll see a little bit more. He's a guide, weather guy. He's a professional photographer. Took 10 days and went on the road. It turned into something that we'll do probably annually for the rest of our foreseeable lives. But in this, the next slide was, it was about 2 years ago. This was kind of my entry into taking severe weather photography. We were out in Arizona on a family reunion and just playing around in the backyard, in the back porch, taking pictures of the monsoon, and captured probably one of the better photos that I'll ever take of a lightning strike hitting a tree.
And it set the tree on fire, didn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeremy, anything special to get that, or you just get lucky?
Just successive photos of 20-second shots.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just about having the lens open when it happens.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. That is a hell of a shot. How far away was that, you think, from you?
Probably a couple hundred yards. We're on the 4th floor, and it woke up the entire hotel.
Yeah, I'll bet.
The thunder did. But looked back at the camera and saw what I had captured, and it was just to have it sharp and you can zoom in and see the tree on fire was just amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's really got it started.
Yeah, well, that's good.
So I mentioned Jason Weingart. He's out of Georgetown, Austin, and he does severe weather tours. He does a bunch of other stuff, but found him through a family friend and took a chance, and he's just a phenomenal guide, unbelievable forecaster, photographer. So go ahead.
Did they give you hints about how to set your camera up and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and he'll help you as much as you want help. You know, some of the guys that go on this on the trip that we had were professional photographers that have been going with Jason for 3 or 4 years, and they had all their stuff set up and didn't, and then we had a couple people that didn't have all the information, and he'll help you as much as you want help. So it's great having a guy that's a professional photographer there to kind of help set up things. So this is just a slide of just the amount of information that those guys consumed to be able to forecast out where we were going to be heading the next day was just unbelievable. And to get a forecast usually within 15 to 20 miles of where the storms were, the biggest storms were going to hit. We were in position every time, and it was just unbelievable. Go ahead.
Yep.
So just, I mean, a little bit of breakdown of my equipment. I shoot Canon, but I have a Canon ESR, and I've got a Canon 77D that I had converted into infrared, and I ended up bringing the infrared camera just as a secondary camera, but I ended up liking a lot of the infrared photos more than I did some of the color ones. I think infrared seems to cut through some of the fog, the rain, and pick up a little bit better. Just some of the essentials, some sort of lens protection. You get into a lot of areas where you got wind blowing, dust blowing. Having a long lens, having a wide lens, and a very sturdy tripod. A lot of the cameras today are built with intervalometer inside. The new Canon mirrorless do not. So I used the Myops smart remote, which does lightning and does time lapse.
So you were using that smart remote for a lightning trigger then?
Yeah, and there were situations when you would just set up and let it sit, wait for lightning. But I use it mainly for time lapse.
Yeah.
And it triggers when it detects a lightning strike?
It does. Then
Wow.
just my limited experience, the guide had a different lightning trigger. It's hit or miss. A lot of the really fast lightning, your camera's just not fast enough to keep up with it. But it's essential during the day. I mean, if you want to take a 1/125th shot and try to get some lightning in it.
Yeah. Okay.
So our tornado adventure was 10 days on the road, 6,200 miles, and we went from every state in between Texas, Wyoming, and Illinois. So it's a lot of travel. You go where the storms are going to set up. Not for everybody, but
Yeah.
so this is Jason, our guide, and my son. Just got to our first location in Iowa, and just eyeing, waiting for storms to develop. Go ahead. There's a silo behind the pictures, but we were out in cornfields out in Iowa, and watching this storm roll in and hoping that it became more severe than it actually did. But
Is this an infrared?
it is. So most of the infrared that I took are going to come out black and white.
Yeah.
Just one of the big storms that we were waiting to develop out in Iowa.
That's pretty good.
I think you get great color or depth, highlight to low shadow rendition with the infrared. It seems like it always intensifies things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So another infrared, I don't know why I developed this one with just a little bit of color on it, but anyway, just one of the fronts that we were watching, and I can't remember where this was taken, but I think it was somewhere in the Panhandle one of the days. I don't know if everybody can see behind the pictures. My son, we were waiting for a storm to develop in front of us, and it was one of the first days of COVID, so we were donning masks.
I see other people. Are those other storm watchers?
Yeah, we some of those people are with us, and some of them are not. It was, listening to the guides talk about a normal year. This was obviously not a normal year. COVID kind of slowed things down, but you'd get to some of these spots, and there'd be 100 people lining up in cars, and
it's all changed. Yeah.
turned into a whole new business. And some of these guys have their own businesses by going out and taking these photographs and selling them.
Yeah.
Jeremy,
Did you
how
get
big
caught
was
in the
it?
storms?
What's that?
Did you ever get caught in the storms?
Couple times. Jason was phenomenal at giving us as much time as he possibly could, but when it was time to go, it was time to go, and we cut it close a couple times. Got hailed on once. And then we got into some pretty big rainstorms, just waiting till the last minute to take those last shots.
Mhm.
Nothing too dangerous.
Hey, Jeremy, how many were in your group?
Say again.
How many were in your group?
There were six people in our van, so 6 participants and 2 drivers.
I remember seeing a storm chaser show one time when there was a hurricane coming at them, and a tornado, and they went under an overpass, and this tornado went right over them.
And there was, we never really got into a funnel cloud situation like that, but there was a couple times when we would pull into a small town and go, they drive straight for the car washes to try to keep their car from getting hailed on. The car washes get filled up pretty quickly
Yeah, I guess that's right.
in bad weather. Stuff you don't think about.
No, it's something you don't think about. That's right.
Yeah.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So this is our group that obviously the guy taking a picture, and then there's 5 of us down there just waiting for, you get to a spot and you wait for it to develop, and if it didn't develop, you moved on. And but most of the time they were right on.
Mhm.
It was a good way to do time lapse.
Yeah. Yeah. They must have had some pretty good equipment in the vehicle.
You'd think these guys would go back at night, and when we get to our hotel, they would pull out their computers and run their, put all the data together.
Yeah.
But during the day, the majority of what they did was with their phone.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it was.
Yeah.
What time did you guys end up leaving the motel each morning to head out?
Depend on the day. I mean, there's some days when you'd have to go drive 7 hours to get to your spot, and so you'd get out of the hotel pretty early. And there was other days when you might be, 45 minutes or an hour from your spot and get to sleep in. And but they always wanted to be where they really wanted to be by 4 o'clock. That's kind of the witching hour when things really start to get rolling.
Yeah. Nice.
So that's basically where you saw us standing. That storm rolled in, and just captured some pretty cool lightning shots. That's infrared.
Well, when you look at the lightning and the little loops and turns that bolt makes, that's interesting. And then you have that second.
Can you give us an idea of the shutter speed or some of the particulars for your shots? Maybe not this one, but just in general. What are you looking for? Do you go time exposure or proprietary or AV, or what do you do?
It's a balance. I shot everything manual. I tried to, just so I could learn the camera better. But during the day, you typically keep your aperture as small as you possibly could to try to get the shutter speed as long as you possibly could.
Right.
Balance that with not having it too long to where, clouds and things would just start blurring on you.
Right.
But, during the day, you're still at 1/30th of a second
Okay.
if it's cloudy. Hey, Chuck, what slide is this?
I'm sorry. The slide is 13 out of 69.
So this was F8, ISO 200, 1/15th of a second.
Okay. F8. Okay.
So you just exposed, you just took the picture. You didn't have the lightning device to detect the lightning or anything. You just shot
No,
it.
I was actually doing a time lapse, and as it kind of moved on, I got more and more into running time lapse sequences with the weather coming in, and I'm glad I did. I learned that very valuable lesson early on when I started deleting pictures out of some of these sequences, just so I could keep the lightning shots, and kick myself after I'd done it. that there were some pretty good sequences that would have been in there had I left all the pictures in them.
Don't worry.
How many shots per session are you doing then with all the time lapse?
During the day, I'd probably run anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 pictures.
Wow.
And
And
so,
when I was in Albuquerque, my sister was at a place where you could see cloud to cloud lightning.
yeah,
And I was learning, and I ended up using long exposures, like a minute, trying to wait for something to happen. And, you know, I got maybe a handful of pictures, but I was exposing for as long as a minute, where it stopped down so dark that you wouldn't see anything unless lightning happened.
yeah, and there's some lightning storms later on where you really had to keep the, you know, your aperture real low, because it was so bright that it would blow out your shot.
So when you set up exposure before the lightning strikes, you have it exposed way underexposed, right?
Yeah, and play with it, and you're going to get some that are going to blow out, and you're going to get some that are too light. It's just a balance, but try to either go big or don't go, I guess.
Yeah.
So you had this set up on a time elapse. What was your timing set between your photos then?
When you're shooting high action, I usually have a 2 second, 1 to 2 seconds. One's almost too fast for your camera to finish processing the previous shot before it takes another one. At least in my experience. So it ends up skipping some of the shots. So 2 seconds gives it enough time to finish processing and take the next shot.
And then you take shots for how long?
What's that?
Well, how long when you take the shots then? 2 seconds at what, 10 minutes or what?
Well, I just do it infinite, and
Okay.
and you're usually capped by when we have to leave.
Oh, okay.
It's time to go. So I just keep running them until we had to pack up and head to the next spot.
Okay. I can see why you got so many pictures. All right.
Yeah,
Two
8,000.
cameras running
Lot to
time
process.
lapse. Just same scene, just color and in a different angle.
Yeah.
Jeremy, are your photographs taken in JPEG or RAW?
I did everything in RAW.
RAW.
Since I don't have great experience, it gave me a little bit more leverage to fix the photo.
Yeah.
Jeremy, I apologize that I got on a little bit late here. You may have mentioned this already, but are you using an intervalometer to take one exposure after the other?
Yes.
Okay.
I have an external. The camera that I converted into infrared has its own intervalometer, but the new mirrorless don't. So I used it's a lightning trigger, and it does time lapse sequences.
Mm-hmm. I was wondering how it might work if you did just the lowest ISO, smallest aperture, and just let shutter speed go on automatic so that you get a correct exposure every time. Have you experimented with something like that set up? Maybe
Like,
even using
like aperture priority or
yes, aperture priority, and just let the camera decide your exposure. That way you get at least a visible background, and then you might get lucky and get the get the lightning capture as well.
The only thing that I would, at least from what I was doing with time lapse sequences, if you've got a certain time set up, if it takes too long of exposure, it makes the scene jumpy. If that makes sense.
Oh, okay. I probably missed an earlier part. So you're doing like video sequences, is that correct?
Just time lapse sequences.
Time lapse sequences. Okay. Yeah, I can understand how that might.
But yes, no, it's a great way to do that though. If you're looking for individual shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the scene's going to change, you know, with a really bright bolt versus a lower bolt that isn't creating as much light.
Yeah.
Nice.
So this was a scene just north of Cheyenne, Wyoming. Just sunset. This storm, we've been kind of following this storm, and it started dying out. And we just kind of watched it as it went away from us.
Looks like there's a crack in the sky. It's Armageddon.
Yeah, it just cracked. That's right. It's awful. That's a beautiful scene, though. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love the grass field and everything.
Just beautiful land up there.
Yeah, it is.
Go ahead. This is just a sunset shot from the same spot, just looking down the road that we were on. Went on forever.
Yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, that's.
So this is just a supercell rotating thunderstorm that we watched. This was outside Dodge City, Kansas. I kind of skipped around on some of these scenes. So
Yeah, nice. That's infrared. It looks like too, right?
it is.
Yeah.
And that bolt was almost too bright. I had to darken it down quite a bit, but you get a few of those.
Yeah.
Blows it out.
Yeah.
What lens are you using on most of these shots?
On my mirrorless, I'm using a 24-70 2.8, just as a little bit of flexibility, and then on the infrared.
It's just that the photographs look extremely wide angle, and I was thinking it was less than 24.
Well, on the infrared, typically I kept a 14 millimeter on it, but it's a crop sensor anyway, so it ends up coming out of 24 millimeter, something like.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my son's head at the bottom of that.
Yeah, that's.
So this was out after we got done watching the sunset. This is in Chugwater, Wyoming, and we're watching this storm come at us. Just a huge lightning storm. This is where I learned not to delete frames in between lightning shots. Kicking myself because this would have been a really good time lapse as the sun set. You can just scroll through these lightning shots, Chuck.
Yeah, no, we will do it. Just I'm enjoying them. I'm quite boy, that thing, that's a beautiful bolt.
So this shot was in Liberal, Kansas. Just another storm coming in. Another one in Liberal earlier in the day.
Little lightning bolt way up in the top right corner. Yeah.
Peeking out.
Yeah.
Oh,
that is beautiful, isn't it?
wow.
And that's back to the Chugwater, Wyoming. Yeah, it was a beautiful sunset. The lightning bolts, that's just a one shot. There are many of the shots that you took, you got 2 or 3 lightning bolts, and I was doing 3.2. I think it's a 3.2 second exposure.
Yeah. You're on slide 22, right? Yeah.
No, that's 10-second exposure.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just another one from the same storm, just zoomed in a little bit. Some infrareds of the same storm.
Cloud stars up at the top left, huh? Yeah.
Yep.
The stars have a little streak to them, so that probably is about 20 seconds or 30 seconds or something.
15 second on a crop sensor, so it's
okay.
It's kind of too long for stars anyway. Another infrared shot. And a few of these, I would take the short lens off and put a 100 to 400 on, and just try to aim it as best you can and hope you get a couple of shots inside the frame. So this is a storm outside of Ulysses, Kansas. Just a kind of a crazy cloud formations. Little farm equipment in the background.
Jeremy?
Yep.
A question. Can you apply any kind of denoise program to your photographs after for post processing?
No. I use On1 is the software I use, and typically I don't have to. Every once in a while, I'll have to apply a little bit if it gets a little grainy, but I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That one was close, huh?
It was a little closer than you wanted it to be.
It looks
What is the streak on the right-hand side? It's sort of like a faded lightning bolt or something.
When I was talking yesterday about infrared does strange things inside the lens.
Oh.
It's just a reflection.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Inside the camera, and if you look just to the right of the actual bolt itself, you can see some kind of a mirror image of the lightning streak.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
So this is in Moscow, Kansas.
pretty
Watching
impressive.
a
Yeah.
big rotating thunderstorm. They call them motherships. The ones that are stacked like this. Just beautiful.
Yeah. Or power or something like that.
Yeah, and it looks, it's pretty cool when you put it into a time lapse. So we jumped back down to Moscow, and the pictures of a couple back were with the crazy cloud sequences. So I had a camera shooting the other direction, the opposite of this, and that's what I captured with those cloud sequences. And this was probably one of the most amazing sunsets that I've ever seen. And there's a time lapse of it a little later on in the presentation. So this is our group lining up for sunset. Everybody's been time lapsing for, I don't know, probably 15, 20 minutes at this point. Just the hidden lightning bolt behind the pictures back there. Just the cool thing about running raw in time lapse sequences, you can pull a photo out and it's in full form.
Yeah.
Takes up a lot of space, but another shot right as the sun is going down.
Well, you're either very lucky or something. Well, you got some beautiful shots.
It also helps when there's a ton of lightning.
Yeah.
You know, some of these storms you get on, it's just it's unbelievable the amount of lightning that comes out of them. You're gonna get somebody's gonna get lightning in a photo.
Yeah.
So this is actually back in Texas at this point. This is my son. He had just run to go pick up his hat that blew off in this sandstorm that was coming through right at sunset. Go ahead. And there's a rainbow behind the pictures, or behind our photos over there.
When you get caught in a sandstorm, as someone who grew up in New Mexico,
Yeah.
you have to carry more than one UV lens cover because you damage them?
Easily. I didn't have to go through that. I actually, we kind of shielded ourselves behind the van as long as we could until the sun, or until most of the sand had passed by. but yes, very easily you could sandblast a lens pretty quickly. Just a couple shots of my son and I. Like I said earlier, this is now turned into a tradition, and we'll go spend some quality time together, and something we'll share for the rest of our lives.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Does he do photography too?
No, he did video while we were there, so he did video commentating, and also helped the guys forecast. He got really involved in the forecasting side of it, because that's what he wants to do.
As he had Dad to take all the pictures.
Absolutely. He probably got mad when I was running around taking photos. But this is just a couple shots. Here's a van that we drove around in for 10 days, and just a couple scenes of where we were set up. So the second tour that we took turned into now a tradition with my dad and I. We'd never really taken any trips together, and he's been a photographer his entire life, and got me interested, 3 or 4 years ago, and to the point where I finally got a camera. But we decided to take a trip together, and we'll do so for as long as I can see. We're going to do the Monument Valley trip next year. So it was a great father-son experience as well. So this is it was supposed to be a monsoon tour, which is you go to Tucson, and it rains every day with a lot of storms on a normal year, and you stay close, and you take photos in Saguaro National Forest, which is right in front of us. This was not a typical year. It was the driest monsoon that they've had in many years. So we ended up having to drive to New Mexico and up, even into Kansas on this trip. So it turned into a road trip. This is as much rain as we got when we were in Tucson the first day. Little rainbow. So this was, we driven up to our second day up to Tucumcari, New Mexico, and were greeted with a big thunderstorm that was blowing up right at sunset. It's a pretty cool time lapse.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And after we were at the same exact spot, I just turned my camera to the left, and that storm started blowing up. Another just amazing sunset storm.
Yeah, great composition. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
Thank you. This was a little later in the evening, just a thunderstorm that was moving away from us, and photographed it for a few minutes. Just beautiful.
Yeah. Nice stars.
So this is where we ended up for the night, watching a thunderstorm. It was actually the thunderstorm that was in with the windmill. Mm-hmm. That thunderstorm blew up, and we got in front of it, and we watched it come at us for, I don't know, probably an hour and a half or so. So the next, I don't know, 10 or 12 slides are from that storm.
Mm-hmm. Looks like the rain is really coming down.
Yeah, you got some pretty big shafts of rain with the lightning bolts coming in and out of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is a color picture. I see the little house down there.
Yep. That's infrared. So I'd put the 100 to 400 on the infrared camera, and just tried to point it in a good direction, and got some pretty cool shots of it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you set up 2 cameras at once?
Yes. Usually trying to do 2 different things with them. So with one camera, you're trying to go wide and catch, a different type of bolt, and then with the other one, you're, trying to capture 1 or 2 shots out of a bunch that get into a frame, but they look big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where do you set your focal range? Infinity, or back off a little of infinity, or what do you do?
Say again?
The focal range, where do you
Yes.
focus?
Yes. So, especially when you look at some of these photos, you've got a little farmhouse in the background that's just, you're trying to find something way back to focus in live view.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy, are you changing your batteries a lot?
Yes.
I bet.
Try to carry at least 4 extra.
You fill up the cards pretty fast.
Yeah. Pretty quickly with raw photos doing time-lapse sequences.
Yeah.
So this was just outside Dodge City, Kansas. So the next day we got up and there was storms very close to where we already were. But this was, they call this the whale's mouth when you get to the front just past you, but you've got the big opening on the underside of the storm. The next slide is a infrared shot of that storm coming in.
Was that a front then?
No, it was a supercell. It was just a large thunderstorm that had developed up there. So this was out in Buckland, which was not too far from Dodge, and we really thought that because that storm that we were just looking at had started dying down, and really thought that it was going to be a bust. But we drove down to get the last bit of sunset and pulled off the road and onto a dirt road, and it ended up being a sunflower field. It was just, you can't set it up any better than that.
It's a good thing you didn't get out of Dodge, huh?
We did not. So on the other side of this field, I don't know if it's sorghum or what that field is, but on the other side of the dirt road right there is just a field as far as you can see of mature sunflowers. Just one of those things you're not really prepared for.
Great storm.
Yeah, we thought it was done, and it started building back up and produced a lot of lightning. Just a shot right before the sun cleared the horizon.
It's a great shot.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're all looking the wrong way.
Yeah, no, that's.
I guess they moved during the day
Mm-hmm.
to face, but they had already, I guess, started moving the other direction to face for the sunrise. I don't.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they're not facing the sunset, are they?
No. That was the hard part.
There are hammy sunflowers in one of the camera.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
You wanted to get their face in, but you also were trying to shoot back the other direction for these storms.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So that's my dad and I. It was a great trip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good stuff. There we go. The time lapses now.
Okay, so this is the what a lot of those sequences that I took started developing into. So
I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Do it.
You have to hold it.
These are every 2 seconds?
Yes. Yep.
That's a lot of lightning. Nice.
It was crazy.
Yeah, pretty neat.
So time-lapse sequence-wise, I use a program called LR time-lapse. It works in conjunction with Lightroom. Load your photos, go develop them in Lightroom, bring them back into the time-lapse program, and it evens out all the settings in between all the photos. So you're developing your keyframes, and then it averages out all the photos in between your keyframes. Smooths out the sequence.
And you say this runs as a plug-in to Lightroom?
Yes.
That last picture looked kind of, the cloud, I thought looked like an alligator.
That sunset?
Yeah, the last one of that time sequence, time lapse.
When it flattened out?
Yeah.
About how many pictures are in that time lapse?
I think there's 347 in that one.
Okay.
And I've got some that are, 1,400.
Wow.
That's a little long.
Pretty good.
You have to have a lot of RAM on your computer to process that many.
Having a good external drive is the most important, because you're just running the program on your hard drive, but you're keeping all of the photos and everything else on a fast external drive.
Mm-hmm.
Is that an SSD drive or just a
Yes,
regular?
it's SSD. The
Okay, that's how you get the speed.
Samsung T5.
Okay, I'll run this one now.
Okay.
There's so much to take in there.
Yeah, there are a lot.
Right?
Isn't that pretty good? It
That's
is.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I was looking at those sunflowers, and there now I see some moving.
I just want to repeat it because it was so good.
I mean, you're blessed to be out in the field of sunflowers, but to not have any wind when you're trying to take a little bit longer exposures is.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of movement of the sunflowers in the first several frames, about the first quarter of it, and then apparently this wind just completely died or something.
Yeah, just a little bit of wind there. Yeah, that's worth looking at it.
Yes,
Look at
sir.
the clouds curl in, get sucked into the center.
Mesmerizing.
That is beautiful. Wow.
And just some lightning sequences. And this was the sunset.
Wow.
Gorgeous.
It sneaks up on you there.
That just snuck in there, didn't it?
Yeah, you had no idea that it was coming up or going to be coming through there.
I'll give it to you again here. It just sneaks in there.
And that's a sunset, not a sunrise. So
Over what period of time was that?
probably 45 minutes. I'd have to go back and look at it, but
Okay.
maybe not that long, maybe 30 minutes. And one valuable lesson of doing time lapse is to trust the setting and let it go. I have a hard time thinking that I'm at the wrong setting or didn't get something right. So I have an urge to stop and reset, and it makes your videos really choppy. So
Yeah. If the light changes so much during the time lapse, or could change so much, I guess it's
yeah, and
like that program evens that out. That's what it does.
Yeah. So you do want to pick, somewhat of so if you're going to do a long exposure at sunset time lapse sequence, you want to have say you want to have 6 seconds per shot, and that leaves you can start off at a 1/30th of a second and end up at 5 seconds on an exposure at the end of the sunset, and that makes sure that you've got 6 seconds in between every shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jeremy?
So the camera set up at aperture then, or?
No, they're just manual, and so you're just you're watching your light meter, and as the light meter goes left a few bars, then you either slow the shutter speed down or crank up your ISO a little bit.
All right. So you're fiddling with it during the time frame, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Jeremy, did you learn much from the other members in your trip?
Not a lot. I learned more from our guide and anybody else. That one of the guys was a videographer. One of the guys was had his own professional photography business, and those guys weren't really forthcoming, or they're nice people. Just our guide was the one who gave us the most information.
Okay.
Yeah. And under a normal year without COVID, we would have had some development sessions in the morning before we left, depending on where we were going, that he would have sat down with us with our computers and gone through development, answered any questions. But we didn't get to do that because of social distancing.
Mm-hmm. And this shows what?
So this is, now you're taking all the time lapses and you're putting it into Adobe Premiere Pro, which all of the little purple boxes down at the bottom, those are all different time-lapse sequences. And you arrange, organize, speed up, slow down those time-lapse sequences into a movie. And the green down there at the bottom is music.
Okay.
So Adobe Premiere Pro has free music for you to use.
Okay.
So just,
this is where I got you wrong last time. See if I do it better this time.
it'll be great, Chuck.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's see if we can get the second. Hold on. Now, why did it not go? Clicked on the link.
Well, while we're here, okay.
Okay. So there you go. Hold on. Okay.
Wow, that was great.
Nice.
That was good.
Can I ask when you're creating a video, there,
Okay, we'll go back. Robert. Okay. So we got,
is there a set time how long you leave each frame in the video, like half a second or a quarter of a second?
I try to play it to the music. So I'll cut some sequences short, I'll speed some sequences up, just to try to fit it into, you know, where the music is going up or down, or.
Okay.
I got to figure out how to get back to the.
I screwed that
I
all
have
up,
to
didn't I?
say, this is one of the most amazing
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good.
presentations I've seen in this club. It was stunning. I've never seen anything
Let me
like it.
let me go back, and I'm going to get the rest of your presentation up in a second. For some reason, I need to kill this thing, and we'll get back. You have couple more slides.
Yeah, just a couple of little informative things if anybody's interested.
Oh, did I get it up or not? No.
No.
Okay, hold on. We'll get it back up. And okay.
Yeah. Just a little bit of information. The guy that took us out, he's a professional photographer. He does many different types of tours. Just a really good guide. Knows what he's doing. Some information if anybody wants to do some different things. The next slide is just some of the workshops that he does. So he does a lot of bluebonnet workshops, astrophotography, Desert Southwest, Monument Valley, Slot Canyons, meteor showers. So just very well rounded. He's he guides everything that he does, and if anybody's interested, he'd be a good one to reach out to.